Everyone, today's topic is Karl Marx. Karl Heinrich Marx, born 5 May 1818. Marx is widely referred to as a philosopher, political economist, and a journalist. Father of Karl Marx, Heinrich Marx. Marx's father died in May 1838, resulting in a diminished income for the family. Marx had been emotionally close to his father and treasured his memory after his death. This is Marx's family. Marx and his wife. Marx married to Jenny von Westphalen. Spending summer and autumn 1836 in Trier, Marx became more serious about his studies and his life. He became engaged to Jenny von Westphalen, an educated baroness of the Prussian ruling class who had known Marx since childhood. 7 years after their engagement, on 19 June 1843, they married in a Protestant church in Kreuznach. Born in Germany, Trier, this is Marx's house. Marx's close friend and fellow scholar was Friedrich Engels. Education. School life of Marx. Young Marx was privately educated by his father until 1830 when he entered Trier High School. In October 1835, at the age of 17, Marx travelled to the University of Bonn, wishing to study philosophy and literature. But his father insisted on law as a more practical field. University at Bonn. When he turned 18, while at the University at Bonn, Marx joined the Poets' Club, a group containing political radicals that were monitored by the police. Additionally, Marx was involved in certain disputes, some of which became serious. In October 1836, Marx arrived in Berlin, matriculating in the university's Faculty of Law and renting a room in the Mittelstrasse. Although studying law, he was fascinated by philosophy and looked for a way to combine the two, believing that without philosophy, nothing could be accomplished. Marx soon abandoned fiction for other pursuits, including the study of both English and Italian, art, history, and the translation of Latin classics. Marx field in research: sociologist, philosopher, historian, and revolutionist. He played a significant role in the social studies. Marx is referred to as the true father of modern sociology. Together, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels began to develop the ideas which became the revolutionary proletarian socialism, also known as communism. Theories of Karl Marx. Karl Marx and conflict theory, father of modern socialism, communism, and conflict theory. Marxism is a Western intellectual tradition spanning 150 years, consisting of three components. The three components are: first one, a political doctrine; second one, a philosophy or anti-philosophy of history; third one, an analysis of the functioning of the economy. The Marxist theory of alienation. All human history, culture, and civilization is the product of human labor. Human labor involves the skills and hard work of individuals to produce useful items. When such items are put on the market, they stop being representations of usefulness or human skill. The concept of alienation, its meaning, a state of estrangement, relationship of labor with production, product of labor alienated from production, worker is exploited, the more wealth he produces, the poorer he becomes, worker alienated from his product. Alienation manifests itself in 4 ways. The worker alienated from the product, the worker has no control over it. Second one, worker alienated from production, he has no say in their regard. Third one, man has creative ability, he loses this quality. Fourth one, the worker is socially alienated, man is judged by his position. Karl Marx and his theory of surplus value. In all societies, the social surplus product was appropriated by a small minority of the population, thereby dividing the society into class of producers and class of appropriators of the social product. This surplus can be used for maintaining the muscle power in ancient societies, to soldiers in the feudalistic societies, and governments in the modern capitalist economies. This appropriation of surplus is called exploitation by Karl Marx. Marx gave much importance to treating the surplus value as a general category over and above profits, interest and rent, which are all part of the total surplus product produced by wage labor. The capitalist mode of production thus presupposes that the producer's labor power has become a commodity. Like all other commodities, the commodity labor power has an exchange value and a use value. The use value of the labor power is precisely its capacity to create new value, including its potential to create more value than its own reproduction cost. Surplus value is the difference between total new value created by the labor power, its own reproduction cost. George F. W. Hegel and Karl Marx. Hegel's dialectic. Conflict theory was developed by Karl Marx from the idea of Hegel, a German philosopher. The dialectic sees a state of conflict in constant operation between the old and new ideas. Karl Marx, theory of dialectical materialism. The economic interpretation of history. All human history has been determined by economic factors, mainly who controls the means of production and distribution. The class struggle. Since the beginning of time, there has been a class struggle between the rich and the poor, or the exploiters and the exploited. Theory of surplus value. The true value of a product was labor, and since the worker received a small portion of his just labor price, the difference was surplus value stolen from him by the capitalist. Socialism was inevitable. Capitalism contained the seeds of its own destruction, that is overproduction, unemployment, etc. Violent revolution. The increasing gap between proletariat and bourgeois will be so great that the working classes will rise up in revolution and overthrow the elite bourgeois. Will create a dictatorship of the proletariat. Working men of all countries unite. Creation of a classless society will result as modern capitalism is dismantled. From each according to his abilities to each according to his needs will take place. Impact of socialism on European politics became profound by late 19th century. In 1837, Marx had wrote both fiction and non-fiction, had completed a short novels. Important works of Karl Marx include the Communist Manifesto, Das Kapital, Economic and Philosophic Manuscripts of 1844, Grundrisse, The Class Struggle in France, The German Ideology, Wage, Labor and Capital, A Contribution to the Critique of Political Economy, The 18th Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte, The Poverty of Philosophy. Some important key concepts. First one is capitalism. Marx believed that capitalism is not only an economic system but it is also a political system. Second one, class struggle. Marx believed that conflict produces class and inherently class produces the conflict. Third one, exploitation. Marx believed that capitalism can only thrive exploitation of the working class. Next one, alienation. The workers are forced to sell their labor to the capitalists in order to survive. Types of Marxism. Communism. Communism is the end state of having key means of production owned in common, communally without class. Then socialism. Socialism is an intermediate transition stage where a social revolution, that is, of the workers, the vast majority of society, is required to get to communism. Criticism of Marx's ideas. Criticism of Marxism have come from various political ideologies which include ethical and economical criticisms. Democratic socialists and social democrats reject the idea that socialism can be accomplished through class conflict and a proletarian revolution. Some thinkers have rejected the fundamentals of Marxist theories such as historical materialism and the labor theory of value and gone on to criticize capitalism and support socialism using other arguments. Some contemporary supporters of Marxism argue that many aspects of Marxist thought are viable but that the corpus is incomplete or somewhat outdated in regards to certain aspects of economic, political or social theory. Important quotes of Karl Marx. I laugh at the so-called practical people and their wisdom. If one wants to live like a beast, it could naturally do to turn its back on humanity's suffering and only care about its own pelt. Accumulation of wealth at one pole is at the same time accumulation of misery, agony of toil, slavery, ignorance, brutality, mental degradation at the opposite pole. The first requisite for the happiness of the people is the abolition of religion. In bourgeois society, capital is independent and has individuality, while the living person is dependent and has no individuality. Art is always and everywhere the secret confession and at the same time the immortal movement of its time. The theory of communism may be summed up in one sentence: abolish all private property. Following the death of his wife Jenny in December 1881, Marx developed a catarrh that kept him in ill health for the last 15 months of his life. It eventually brought on the bronchitis and pleurisy that killed him in London on 14 March 1883, dying a stateless person. Family and friends in London buried his body in Highgate Cemetery, London on 17 March 1883 in an area reserved for agnostics and atheists. There were between 9 and 11 mourners at his funeral. End of Marxism, March 1883, at the age of 64. Thank you.